friends, welcome back. Well, it's been a while. I have tried to record this video several times, but I ramble. So I tried to script it, and once I got through the editing process, it just didn't feel genuine, it didn't feel like me. So I'm trying this again, hopefully third time's the charm. Obviously, I've not posted any physique updates or anything about my fitness journey that I was going to start following again. And as you can see by the title of this video, I had some interesting things happen during this time. And it has never been a secret that I struggled with depression and anxiety. I have always said that I wanted to show the good, the bad, and the ugly through my journey, and y'all have seen plenty of my breakdowns, so I think you understand that I'm an emotional person and that I do struggle with some depression and anxiety, and I have for the majority of my life. I have been on antidepressants in the past, I've been on anti-anxiety medication in the past, but we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to the beginning of this whole quarantine thing, which was when I last left off. So when I last left off, I was starting my new fitness journey. On March 16th, I started my new job as a personal trainer at Lifetime. And on March 16th, everything shut down. So I went through one day of training at Lifetime, and then everything shut down. Initially, this didn't feel stressful for me at all. I am a homebody. I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have so much time to catch up on things, to get my apartment clean, which I'm not always very good at. And I wanted to concentrate on things that I hadn't concentrated on. I was excited because I was like, oh, I'm really gonna be able to track this fitness journey. I was on the tail end of my recovery from my breast augmentation, and so I was gonna be able to work out the way I wanted to again. I was gonna be able to start running and lifting over my head so that I could build my shoulders back up. And my hopes were high. They were real high. I was excited, and at the beginning of the quarantine, everything went well. I was super productive. I was in a great mood the majority of the time. I was quarantining with Todd, and it was going so well. And then I was kind of forced to slow down. I didn't have a full-time job that was sucking up the majority of my time. I didn't have a gym to go to, and I was doing at-home workouts, but the gym is my happy place, y'all. Like, I prefer gym workouts, and so it was really starting to affect me. On top of that, both of my breast implants dropped too far. And I am short-waisted, I am a short person. I ain't got no room for them puppies to be down here. Like, I need the real estate on my torso in order to look like I have a waist. I think that the reason this happened from research was because I had lost a lot of weight in the past, and then I also never really had much up here to begin with, so I didn't have like a natural breast fold for them to kind of fall into. So they sunk too low. This meant that I needed to get another procedure done. So with this procedure that I had to have, they told me it was going to be 6 weeks of recovery, and I was gonna have to sleep on my back again. I couldn't do any overhead lifts or back squats or anything where I lifted my arms over my head at all with any kind of weight. This, of course, was quite devastating to me because I wanted to prep and compete in the fall. And so I'm like, how am I gonna compete if I can't do any cardio and I can't do squats and I can't work on my shoulders? So I was discouraged, but I was like, okay, you know what, that's fine. I'll just do what I have to do for 6 weeks. We'll see, we'll rein it in super hard, and then I'll just try to super hardcore prep after my recovery. They said the procedure wouldn't be painful at all, that most people are fine the next day, and they don't even need pain medication, so they didn't prescribe me any pain medication for the next day. No, it was excruciating. It was 1,000 times more painful than the actual surgery itself. It was horrible. It was horrible. So I had to call them and get pain meds from them, and the pain meds hardly even touched it. I had to lay flat to the point that I could hardly even get up to go to the bathroom. I was like crying when I had to stand up. It was so painful. And it took about 2 weeks for the pain to go away completely. I went in for a checkup, all looked good. I went in for my 6-week checkup, really hoping that I was like, all right, I'm gonna start lifting again, and I'm gonna be able to, you know, do things that bounce, like run and stuff like that. And then they tell me, all right, so you need 6 to 8 more weeks of this. I almost started crying in the office. I was like 6 to 8 more weeks of not being able to lift over my head and sleeping on my back. And he was like, yes, and wearing a bra 24/7. I was so livid because they told me 6 weeks. And I know that they do this so that when you are going to have the procedure to begin with, you don't get like, oh God, I can't have this procedure done. It's gonna be so many weeks. But y'all, I wanna know what I'm signing up for. I want to be prepared for the fact that, okay, you're not gonna get to compete because you're gonna be recovering for the majority of this time. And you're probably not gonna be losing the weight you wanna lose because you can't do the type of activity that you wanna do. So that really bummed me out. I was also bummed out that I spent all this money and all this time recovering, and because I was slowing down and because I wasn't in the gym the way I wanted to be, and that's my happy place and that's what has kept me sane through all these years, I started struggling with my mental health a lot. I was hitting some of the deepest lows that I've ever hit, and I started noticing that I was cycling between what I now know was hypomania and depression. So I was going through days of being like uber productive, not needing much sleep, feeling really, really good and really happy. But then that would turn into super overthinking things, not being able to get my thoughts in line, not even being able to read without my brain going into all these different directions. I was feeling super anxious, couldn't sleep. And after a while of this, I was like, man, I just feel like it's because I can't get any sleep. I feel like I'm so anxious. If I could just sleep, then all of this would get better. All of this would go away. So I made an appointment at a doctor's office. I saw a new doctor. I explained to her everything that had been going on with me, and I was saying I just needed something to sleep. In the past, I had been given lorazepam, and it just helped me sleep for a few days, and then I would come out of this like super anxious state that I was in. And she was asking me if I'd had any caffeine that day. I said no, when I can't sleep I don't use caffeine, and that I'd been taking Unisom and other things to try to sleep, and just nothing was helping me sleep, and so I just felt like I needed something that was stronger. She started asking me all these other questions, and I knew where she was going because the past 4 doctors I have been to had all brought up bipolar disorder. And growing up, my mom always said that I was either super happy or super sad, and it was just kind of my personality. And I always felt like there was something wrong with me because I'm also super sensitive. I'm a highly sensitive person. The first time somebody explained that to me, and that it's actually something going on with my nervous system, and they found it in different species of animals, and that it is actually a physical thing to be highly sensitive, that made me feel better. I'm like, oh, I'm not just this terrible person who can't control her emotions, because, you know, when you're sensitive, you hear growing up, stop being so sensitive, and you can't let it get to you, and control your emotions. That's not always possible, especially when you're a highly sensitive person. So that made me feel a little bit vindicated finding that out. But I still had to function within that. And I thought that it was just that I was a highly sensitive person, that I'm super emotional, I'm super empathetic. I honestly think it's one of the reasons I'm a good actor, because I am super empathetic and can really put myself in the shoes of whatever character I'm playing and feel a semblance of what that actually would be for the person in the script. But it can be overwhelming. It makes me feel like a super difficult person, and so I honestly didn't think I had bipolar disorder. I was just like, no, I'm just a difficult person. I just have to learn how to not make my emotions anybody else's problem. And that's kind of how I had grown up. I would stuff things a lot. I would try really hard not to make it people's problem. I had a really hard time being vulnerable. As I've gotten older, I've isolated myself more and more from people. There are some really wonderful people who have really wanted to be my friend and really reached out to me, and I'm not good at it. I have over 200 unread text messages right now because I get super overwhelmed. Okay, I've gotten better. 196. 196. That's actually down from 300 and something. I've gotten better recently. But I've always struggled with feeling like I am not worth being friends with, because I just always make somebody's life worse because I'm super emotional and I'm super sensitive. So I felt like, I mean, people with bipolar disorder have an actual legitimate excuse. It is a problem inside your brain. I didn't feel like I had that excuse, and I resisted it for a long time. I also didn't want the diagnosis because I didn't want to go on medication. I felt like I would be judged by people when bipolar disorder first became like a thing and people talked about it a lot, they'd be like, oh my God, are you bipolar? And she's just bipolar. Stop being so bipolar. Like I heard people say this and just like throwing it out there, not knowing at all what it is. And I resisted it. I resisted this diagnosis, but I was getting to a point where slowing down made so many things that have gone on with me, it just crashed down on me, and all of these fears and all of this trauma that I went through the past couple of years, which some really great things have happened in the last couple of years too, but also some of like the worst things in my life have happened in the last few years. Some things that just really rocked my world, especially the divorce that I went through and some stuff leading up to that. There was a lot of things. And 2016, 2017, I was going to therapy a lot and it was helping me. I was functioning really well. I felt like I had control over my brain. I had these practices that I was doing that just really helped me. I was processing so many things that I had gone through growing up and realized some things that had really affected me that I didn't realize had affected me. And I just felt so good. And when I would have a bout with depression or something, I had these tools. I had my therapist. I could go to her and work through it and deal with it. And it was awesome. And then when stuff started happening with my marriage, I didn't have the money to go to therapy anymore. But I felt like I have my tools. I can do this myself. And I just kept pushing through and pushing through. And I think doing my first bikini preps kept my mind on something. It consumed my life. It really did. I was focused on it 100% of the time. And there were ups and there were downs, but I was so excited about doing this thing and accomplishing this thing and finally meeting my fitness goals and losing weight for the first time in my life. So I really felt like I was gonna be fine, but I never slowed down. I was working like crazy. After I competed, I only took about 2 months off and then started trying to prep again. And the prep didn't go well, so I started bulking. And when I was bulking, I was doing 2-a-days and I was working a lot and was super stressed out at work, but I had things that kept my mind off of the things that I had gone through that I hadn't dealt with yet. So the quarantine, the slowdown, it hit me really hard. And when I went to the doctor, I still wasn't convinced that it was bipolar disorder. I told my mom, I was like, they're probably gonna bring up bipolar disorder and I'm gonna have to be like, no, it's not that, I just need to sleep. And she started pointing some things out to me that the other doctors hadn't pointed out. She was like, so have you had any caffeine? And I'm like, no, I haven't had any caffeine. I always eliminate it when I can't sleep because I'm kind of sensitive to caffeine and I know it's gonna keep me up, so I haven't had any caffeine. I was like, I've had some decaf coffee, but I haven't had that. And I was like talking at that speed and I didn't realize it. And she was like, you're talking really fast for somebody who's only had like 2 hours of sleep in the last week and didn't have any caffeine. Hey, kitty. Hey, kitty. Kitty. I don't know who it is. Is it Mish? Schmittens? Schmittens? Thank you. So that hit me kind of hard. And I was like, oh. And she asked me if I always talked that fast. And I was like, sometimes. And what I had told her was that I'd struggled with depression, but I didn't ever think I had the mania. And in that moment, I realized that I did. And it wasn't mania in the sense that people with bipolar 1 go through. I wasn't not sleeping for nights and nights on end and writing 1,000-page novels. I just had a hard time sleeping. I had a hard time turning my brain off. I was dealing with some anxiety when it was at its worst and I didn't get enough sleep. But at the time, because I was hypomanic, I was like, no, I really don't think. And she's asking me how bad my lows are when I get depressed. And I was like, well, they can be pretty bad, but like I feel like I have control over it. And she was like, well, would you be opposed to going to a psychiatrist? And I was like, well, I mean, I guess not. I got insurance now. I'll go ahead and do that. So she scheduled the appointment. She gave me something to sleep. I slept that night and I woke up so depressed for no reason. I was so depressed. I was so down. And then I remembered, I was like, oh God, this is how this feels. This is how bad this is. And when I'm in my hypomanic states, I don't remember how bad it is when I'm super, super depressed. And so I was like, okay, wow, maybe this is a thing. Long story short, shorter, because it's already been pretty long, I went to the psychiatrist. I was still in my really big low, and the first question she asked me, I just start bawling. Like, they had me fill out paperwork beforehand, and it was scary how many things I was marking and the tests they gave me, how strongly I fit into the bipolar 2 diagnosis. And it shouldn't have been so hard for me. If a friend or if somebody I knew and loved told me that they were diagnosed with this, I would be so accepting. I would be so encouraging to them, but I was afraid of what my family was gonna say. I was afraid of what my friends were gonna say. I was afraid of what Todd was gonna say. I was afraid of medication and having to go on medication. And in the past, when I'd been on antidepressants, I felt nothing, and I told her, I was like, I don't want to feel nothing. I'm not a good actor when I feel nothing. I don't like life when I feel nothing. And I really didn't want to lose my highs, because once I realized that those really good days and the days that I had a lot of energy and the days that I felt super productive and had all these great ideas were my hypomanic days, and I didn't want to lose those. I was like, that's when I feel worth something. That's when I feel like people like me. That's when I feel like I'm succeeding. When I'm normal or when I'm down, I just make everybody's life worse. Like, I'm not worth anything when I'm like that. And she told me something very encouraging, that the reason I felt like that when I was hypomanic was because I was hypomanic and things just seemed really great, and that I'm always the same person, and I may have talked a little bit faster and gotten less sleep and been more social instead of just super introverted. But she told me that the medicine she was going to put me on was a mood stabilizer, not an antidepressant. And so the goal was to get it to where I didn't have the crazy highs and I didn't have the crazy lows, but I would still feel things. I would actually be more productive on a daily basis. I'd be able to control my thoughts. I'd be able to make decisions better, which are things I have always struggled with. I am not good with decisions. I will think of 15,000 things I need to do, and I'll just sit there like, I don't know which one to do first. It's crazy. And so the thought of that, I was like, okay, I'm willing to try this. This sounds great. Fast forward, I've been on the medicine for almost 4 weeks. It is amazing. It is amazing. Even just the 4 weeks, they say it takes 6 weeks for it to fully work, and I've been ramping up on it. But by the 3rd week, bad things would happen, or things that would have thrown me into a horrible depression where I felt like I just would rather be dead than feel that feeling. I know that's a scary thing to say, but that's how it feels. Like, when I felt that down, I was just like, I can't. This is like, nothing is worth feeling this way. And I had some things happen that would have thrown me into that before, and I was like, oh, this sucks. But I don't feel like I can't handle it. I don't feel like I want to crawl in a hole and die. I just feel like, okay, this sucks, but it'll get better. And I was able to put my mind on other things. I've been so much more productive, like more productive than I've been in a very long time. And I've not been stressed out or overwhelmed about everything I had to do. My goodness. It has been awesome. So all of this to say that I felt very alone and scared of my brain, of the possibility of being officially diagnosed with something, and the stigma surrounding that. So the reason I'm doing this isn't just to catch you guys up on what's been going on with me, but to encourage people that are also maybe afraid of this diagnosis and afraid of starting medication and afraid of how people would judge you or what life would look like after you knew that that's what you had. But you're not alone. You're not alone. And that's one thing that my psychiatrist told me, was that it feels very isolating. It feels very lonely. But she sees people all day who go through these same things and have the same thoughts and have the same cycles of self-loathing and guilt and ups and downs and not being able to control yourself and just thinking, what is wrong with me? Why can't I control myself? Everybody else in the world can control themselves, can control their feelings, can not be so affected by such little things. But so many other people are that way. You are not alone. Don't be afraid of the diagnosis. Find a psychiatrist you trust. Find a group of people that can identify with you. I joined a Bipolar 2 support group on Facebook, and holy cow, it's been so great. We encourage each other. We talk about different medications we've been on. We share memes. It's been so cathartic for me and really helpful to not feel alone and to feel supported and to also support other people, because once you're able to be there for other people and encourage and help other people, it really helps your own recovery and your own life and your own ability to take care of yourself. That's why I wanted to do this, and to let people know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and you don't have to be ashamed to go on medication. It's not going to be all gloom and doom forever, and you can feel better. I'm not doing this for sympathy. I'm not doing this as an excuse for why I didn't continue my weight loss journey and, you know, this is my excuse or whatever. I don't feel bad at all for not tracking all of my food and getting every single workout in, because this has been a roller coaster and a crazy time for all of us, and it just happened to surface one of the most pivotal diagnoses of my life. So it did completely change the trajectory of what I'm doing and where I'm going when it comes to fitness and competitions, but I'm going to update you on that when I do my next physique update, which is going to be soon. But for now, I'm going to leave you with one of the songs that I feel like has gotten me through some of my most depressed times. I get very emotionally attached to music. I'm very moved by certain pieces of music, and growing up there have been songs that just resonated with me and just lit up my heart when I was in my deepest, darkest times, and they made me not feel so alone, and they made me feel encouraged. This song is by my favorite female artist. Her name is Menna, and she co-wrote it with another artist. I'm gonna have the link to both of them in my description. She posted this song on Instagram, and it was the first thing I ever saw her play and that I ever heard from her, and it just captivated my soul. And I have listened to it on repeat every time I've hit a really bad low in the recent past, and she was kind enough to let me use it, and it's the beautiful music you have been serenaded by underneath this video. But I'm gonna leave you with the actual video of her playing this song in hopes that somebody else who needs to hear this, that it'll touch you like it touched me, and listen all the way to the end. It's a message that I want everyone who's ever felt like me in these times to hear. Thank you for listening to this. I have no idea how long it's gonna be because I didn't script it so that it would be genuine. Please share this video with anyone you think needs to hear this or needs some encouragement and needs not to feel alone, because you're not alone. That's all for now. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye, friends.
Smiling, but I know that kind of sadness. Wilderness knows that all of this passes. I'll stand in your stillness, I'll hold your worry, 'cause the heaviest burdens are quietly carried. So I don't know what to tell you, I don't know how long this is gonna last, but I know you'll get through it, 'cause I always have. Though my soul may set in darkness, it will rise in perfect light. I have loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night. Lost in the past and long for a future, but if you're gonna love her, you might have to lose her. And I feel alone whenever he holds me. The best kept secret is everyone's lonely. So I don't know what to tell you, I don't know how long this is gonna last, but I know you'll get through it, 'cause I always have. Though my soul may set in darkness, it will rise in perfect light. I have loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night. So while your soul